Monday, back at it. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. After taking Friday off, plans didn't quite go as I wanted them to, but I was able to celebrate my birthday on Sunday, which was also Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all of those out there. It's that miracle that you bring to this world. It's incredible. Thank you for fostering life on this planet. It's incredible. So a lot to get to, including the final few weeks of legislative session. We're here May 12th, and we've got, 2 weeks and a few days before May 31st, when the legislature is expected to pass a budget by. $55 billion budget. We'll talk a little bit about that and some of the things that the legislature did late last week. Of course, Friday, the House was still in session, and they did take up a bill in committee dealing with the smell of cannabis in a vehicle. So we'll tackle some of that. We'll also get some Republicans who are critical of the budget process thus far and are ultimately decrying what they say is $6 billion worth of tax increases that progressive Democrats are aiming for. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Those of you waiting for the U.S. Supreme Court to issue orders today, don't look for it. There's no order list expected today on the 12th. If you look at the Supreme Court's calendar, you'll see that. And it doesn't have today lit up as an order list today. So you're going to have to wait another week to find out if they take that Maryland gun ban challenge. But with that, we'll take a look at some of the status of other litigation challenging gun laws, specifically in the state of Illinois. So we'll get to that. Plus, the latest in the lawsuits against the state of Illinois from the U.S. Department of Justice concerning sanctuary policies and that E-Verify lawsuit that the DOJ has. All of this while Illinois is celebrating the first American Pope from the South Chicago suburbs. So just some of what we're going to hear today with Illinois in Focus Daily. Again, I want to remind you, get the morning show each and every weekday morning about 8 o'clock. We go live here on YouTube. So like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell and expand that notification bell if you want to get all updates from the Center Square. It's not just this live show, Illinois in Focus. We've got teams across the country looking at state houses all over the place, including what's going on in Washington, D.C. So you'll get all kinds of video clips and other segments from other reporters here with the Center Square on YouTube. But you can also get the newsletter. Go to thecentersquare.com, click newsletter, give us your email address. It's free, and you'll get updates in your inbox each and every morning. So be sure to sign up for that newsletter and get this podcast wherever you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus and you'll find it. All right, plenty to tackle here with Illinois in Focus, including some of the things that happened late last week at the State House, right here with the Center Square.
I am in receipt of some replacement letters from Speaker Madigan.
It's State Representative Justin Slaughter.
It's been a long morning. Speaker Welch.
A little slip there from the chair of the Judiciary Committee on Friday, early in the morning, saying that he had a replacement letter for somebody on the committee from Speaker Madigan. Speaker Madigan was convicted of 10 crimes of corruption this summer. He's not been speaker since 2021. Interesting to hear that on a Friday morning committee. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. Friday, the House was in session, and they conducted some business, but definitely a gavel in, gavel out type of day. They get their per diem, they get their travel. And they're back tomorrow, as is the Senate, and it is going to be a pretty jam-packed day. Here's just a little bit of what the schedule looked like this year for the Illinois legislature. This is just the House schedule, okay? So January, they had some days. February, they had some days. March, big block of days. You had deadline weeks, and then you've got April. We just finished that up. Now we're into May, and you can see that block there of dates where it's going to be pretty busy, right? Tomorrow, the 13th, the House and Senate are going to be in session. They're going to be in session all through Friday. Then the following week, they're off Monday, so they'll be in with third reading deadlines to get Senate bills out of the House, but they do have that last week, even after Memorial Day. They have that last week scheduled for all the way through the 31st. So it's going to be a pretty busy week. That 31st, the May 31st deadline, the reason why that's the deadline is because you need a month for any bill that passes with simple majorities to go into effect immediately for the governor constitutionally to act on it. And then that means the budget, for instance. So they have to pass a budget by May 31st to give the governor that 30-day window to enact the budget so it goes into effect July 1st. They can pass legislation after May 31st, but it would take a super majority to enact that legislation, or at least to get it to the governor's desk so that he could enact it. So that's why that May 31st deadline's there. Constitutionally, just how bills pass and the amount of time that the governor has to act on something, and then you have the amount of time that the legislature can act on any vetoes there may be. That's why we have a fall veto session. So again, just some of the protocol of how the legislature goes. But obviously the budget's a big deal. You've got a large spending plan, the state's largest spending plan expected at $55 billion. And there's concerns that Republicans in the super minority in the House and in the minority in the Senate have about the possibility of tax increases. Thursday, Illinois Republican senators took to the podium at the State House. Story from Kevin Bessler at the Center Square you can find. They're slamming the latest push for higher taxes by Illinois Democrats. Let's just read some of this. GOP lawmakers say a proposal to raise taxes on the wealthiest people and corporations in Illinois will be detrimental to small businesses. Two joint resolutions to raise over $6 billion in new revenues been filed by Illinois Democrats with support from a group called Illinois Revenue Alliance. Members of Illinois include the Chicago Teachers Union, which just scored a new contract from the Chicago Public Schools worth $1.5 billion. Also, the Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights and the Workers' Center for Racial Justice. Both groups are also part of the Illinois Revenue Alliance. Now, we'll take a look at this briefing here in a moment of what they're calling for. But let's hear from State Senator Jason Plummer, who was part of this news conference where he ultimately laid out what he believes are some of the problems with the ongoing push for tax increases. The governor, if you recall, he said no new tax increase. I got myself in the screen there. I didn't realize that. He said during his budget address, no new taxes. I mean, it wasn't exactly what he said, but he said it's going to be a tough budget year. Urged the legislature to do things in a judicious fashion, to find savings where they could, if they want to increase the spending line on one item, they have to increase, cuts somewhere else, and he urged the legislature to bring those ideas to him. So clearly, there's going to be some Rough conversations at the Capitol for people who want to spend more tax dollars. They're going to have to find cuts. Or, as you've heard the governor say time and again, rather the Chicago mayor say it time and again, he's looking for progressive revenue. Progressive revenue. It's a term that we've heard over and over. But here's State Senator Jason Plummer, a Republican from Edwardsville, talking about the latest tax hike push from Democrats.
It doesn't need more taxes. Everyone that lives in Illinois understands that. It needs a government that respects the private sector and a governor that actually understands how the private sector works. Those small businesses that create the most jobs in Illinois. These aren't billion-dollar corporations with endless resources. These are family-owned shops, startups, farms, and small manufacturers from the Wisconsin border to the Kentucky border.
I'm proud to say that this year's budget proposal is balanced and responsible. It represents some hard sacrifices and moderated spending. We're preserving the progress that we've made over the last 6 years, streamlining certain departments to do more with less, and delivering for our residents without raising their taxes.
People from other countries can come here and get gold-plated free health care, while Illinoisans have to decide, do they want to go to the dentist or they want to go to the eye doctor because they can't make ends meet.
So obviously, just one of the videos you would get if you subscribe to us here with the Center Square and have those pop up in your notifications. So you heard the governor there talk about how they're streamlining things, they're doing more with less. But the proposal that's been floated is from the Illinois Revenue Alliance. Let's take a look at that here with a handout talking about how they're looking for $6 billion in new revenue. And they plotted out here for the proposed budget. They say that the legislature could pass $830 million by raising corporate income taxes. They could have a tax on digital advertising for $725 million. They could increase $1.2 billion in taxes on corporate tax worldwide combined reporting, $175 million closing a corporate tax loophole. They say $200 million for tax corporate offshore shelter income, $1.5 billion close the carried interest loophole, $840 billion billionaire wealth tax, $500 million for an excise tax on capital gains, and $150 million reforming the estate tax. That one actually had some criticism the week before, with House Republicans highlighting how that would essentially take the $4 million threshold for income taxes and cut it in half to $2 million. So say a family farmer who has $3.9 million, they're still under that $4 million cap. But if the Illinois Revenue Alliance gets their way, that estate tax would kick in after $2 million. But there's another push to increase that cap from $4 to $6 million. Others want to get rid of it altogether. So we'll see how that plays out. But clearly, a lot of ideas here that they say would support a variety of things, like, for instance, the immigrant communities by fully funding immigrant services, school funding, strengthening public transit, protecting healthcare access, and so on. One of the big stories that is likely to pop out during the budget process this month is the transit system and the efforts to try to consolidate the transit systems, while they're looking at a $740 or $760 million fiscal cliff by 2026. So a lot of dollars there. I mean, that's almost $1 billion that are needed for transit in all of this. So stay with us, because we'll be getting the latest as we get closer to the budget and how that's all going to play out. So that's just part of the kind of looming issue, right? The budget. We're going to hear a lot about it, but there's other things going on as well, including in the Illinois House Judiciary Committee, where State Representative Curtis Tarver has a measure that he is looking to get through the House after it passed the Senate. This is Senate Bill 42, and as it's been introduced, it amends the Illinois Vehicle Code. It removes the requirement that cannabis within an area of a motor vehicle must be in an odor-proof container. It provides that if a motor vehicle is driven or occupied by an individual 21 years of age or over, a law enforcement officer may not stop or detain the motor vehicle or its driver, nor inspect or search the motor vehicle, the contents of the motor vehicle, or the operator or passenger of the motor vehicle solely based on the odor of burnt or raw cannabis. Why this is interesting is because obviously it deals with marijuana laws, and the Illinois Supreme Court recently had a split decision. One case was about the smell of burnt cannabis, and the other case was about the smell of raw cannabis during traffic stops. So two separate cases, and the Illinois Supreme Court, reading Illinois law, said that the smell of raw cannabis is grounds for a search, because Illinois law says raw cannabis has to be in a smell-proof container. So if police smell raw cannabis, then Illinois law allows them to search the vehicle to find that raw cannabis and determine if it's in a smell-proof container or not. And that's ultimately what they're looking to change here, because on the other side, for the smell of burnt cannabis, the Illinois Supreme Court said that that is not justification for a search, because that doesn't necessarily indicate somebody was smoking cannabis in the vehicle. It could just be somebody in a garage after somebody lit up a blunt, and they had it on their clothes and get into a vehicle, and then the officer smells it at a traffic stop. So that's where this law is coming from, or this proposal is coming from. It's already passed the Senate, now it's in the House, and they're debating on moving forward with this. But obviously, there's conflicting concerns about opening up the possibility of more drivers under the influence of cannabis. Here is State Representative Patrick Windhorst and Curtis Tarver kind of discussing some of the concerns there are in all of this.
Added to that is the lack of a standard and also roadside testing similar to a breathalyzer. So the issue I have with changing the provisions related to the smell or the odor of raw cannabis is that we're going to make this issue that has been identified as an issue even worse. And my preference would be to resolve those intoxicated motorist issues before we start making changes to the cannabis statute in your direction. So I've actually said a lot, not really perhaps asked a question. I'll just allow you to respond to that if you'd like.
I'll say this. I don't think any of us disagree about a collective desire to reduce fatalities in general, no matter how somebody's intoxicated or otherwise. So I will share that with you. I don't know the nuances of the gaps that you identified, but I'm happy to have that conversation. What I will say is that the underlying thing for a lot of these bills, your community and my community may be different, right? And so some of the concerns of folks in my community is how broad some of these things are, and everybody may not be policed the same, right? That's not an indictment on Tipsworth or Cabello or Sheehan, whatever, right? It's just the reality that it's human, right? And so my goal is ultimately to work towards something that makes sense, not something that ties the hands of law enforcement, right? Not something that also allows something that's wide enough, again, that people say drive a truck through, something that makes sense. I mean, the Supreme Court clearly is, I think, to some extent asking us to do something because they're interpreting, burn versus raw, coming up with two different opinions, and then saying that we probably need to amend the vehicle code. So if your position is, hey, look, why don't we look at things holistically? I'm never going to say no to that, right? Can I say that the bill that comes back that we work on related to cannabis is going to include things related to alcohol? I cannot say that for sure. What I can say is if you have a concern in that regard, I'm happy to talk to you about that and work toward whatever is going to keep people safe. I don't care what they look like at all. I want to keep people safe the same way that you do. How we
So
arrive
he
at
went
may
on
be
from
different,
saying,
but it's a
essentially they're going to
conversation
try
I
to
think is
find agreed language to get law enforcement, at least some of their concerns, taken care of. But there's also just the general concern of warrantless searches of vehicles. And Tarver saying that, different communities, it's just the reality, are policed differently. In some areas, they're not as aggressive. In other areas, they are aggressive. And I'm sure that also, has to do with the crime rates in certain areas, heavy drug activity in certain areas. So how that all plays out before the end of session, just one of the many bills we're watching, right? Also, you've got a series of programs that are looking to be created, or, the safe gun storage law that we've been tracking as well. So a lot of things going on at the State House, and May 31st being that deadline to get things done. So maybe they get done with the budget beforehand and they cut out that last week. That'd be pretty amazing. But anyways, in the House Friday, they were in and they had to take time to highlight a pretty significant appointment in the Catholic Church. Here is State Representative Dubaclay.
That we congratulate Pope Leo XIV on being elected the first American Pope in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church. And I have to say, he is a White Sox fan, not a Cubs fan.
So a lot of excitement in Illinois as you've got a first American Pope from Chicago. So, it's Cardinal Robert Prevost becoming Pope Leo the 14th after he was elected by his fellow cardinals. This is a pretty big deal, especially since he's from the Midwest. He's from the Chicago area, and in particular, he's from a town that a lot of people have heard about recently because the former mayor was somebody who called herself Super Mayor, Tiffany Henyard, losing the Dalton Village mayoral race. And State Representative Will Davis says, listen, the fact that the new pope grew up in Dalton, hopefully is a good sign.
Well, not only does the Pope have Chicago roots, he actually has South suburban roots. While he was born in the city of Chicago, he was raised in Dalton, Illinois, which is a community in my district. And I understand Dalton has had some challenges over the last few years, so now that we can acknowledge that the Pope was from Dalton, maybe he'll sprinkle some magic dust on the city of Dalton and allow this new mayor that we have in Dalton to come in and turn the town around with the blessing of the Pope.
There's no magic dust. I guess one other way that could have been said was, hopefully prayers for Dalton and sunlight and transparency and such. Regardless, pretty interesting deal there, and something that a lot of people are watching, especially with the first American Pope. So that's just a review of some of the things that happened late last week at the Illinois State House. We're going to have plenty more to talk about all throughout this week, next week, the following week, and then unpacking that budget and watching everything get signed into law. Just how many bills are they going to pass? We'll see. It could be, 500 plus? We'll be watching. Right here with the Center Square, I'm Greg Bishop. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. Get the newsletter in your inbox at thecentersquare.com. Get this podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus, and be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell right here with YouTube with the Center Square.
All right, members, I am the
The state of Illinois continues to defend itself against the U.S. Department of Justice, suing over laws they say make the state less safe and also shield non-citizens ineligible for employment from getting employment. I'm Greg Bishop. It's Illinois in Focus Daily on this Monday, May 12th. Good morning, and you can find this show each and every weekday morning live here with YouTube and the Center Square. Just like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We've been tracking the U.S. Department of Justice and their challenges of Illinois law since one in particular was filed in February after U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi took office under the Trump administration, among her first acts was to sue the state of Illinois, Cook County, and the city of Chicago, looking at, in particular, two Illinois laws, the Trust Act and a Way Forward Act, but also looking at, say, the Chicago City's welcoming ordinance. And those measures essentially saying that state and local law enforcement cannot cooperate with federal immigration officials and in the efforts to try to detain non-citizens in the country illegally. This obviously was a flashpoint last week whenever the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem visited Springfield. And if you missed the conversation about that, be sure to check out previous videos here with the Center Square on YouTube for Illinois in Focus, where we highlighted we were part of that motorcade driving around Springfield, where Kristi Noem said, hey, Governor Pritzker, you need to change your ways on this. But we've also got into lawsuits where the Department of Justice is suing the Illinois Department of Labor over a state law that essentially says, well, at least the Department of Justice says, is shielding non-citizens. So we've got a motion for preliminary injunction now that was filed on Friday from the U.S. Department of Justice. It's a 35-page motion for a preliminary injunction. And those of you who've tracked, say, the gun ban litigation, this is a preliminary injunction. It's not on the merits. So they're asking for the court to take some kind of action to ultimately say this law can't be in force while this case plays out. So that's a preliminary injunction. And this is on the E-Verify case. So this was the latest where they said, hey, state of Illinois, Department of Labor, this law that you say is about worker privacy is actually causing some problems when it comes to verifying whether or not somebody's eligible to work in the United States with the federal E-Verify process. So let's take a look at some of the table of contents here just to get an overview, right? We're not going to read the entire 35 pages here on the air, but getting a look at the overview, I think, gives you a good idea. So the Department of Justice saying the federal framework governing immigration and the employment eligibility verification process, immigration reform, they look at the Act, the I-9 inspection process, and they also highlight E-Verify. They talk about Illinois Senate Bill 508, notification and requirements and prohibitions, and the consequences of Senate Bill 508. And then they make their argument about how it's expressly preempted by federal law, is also field preempted, and frustrates Congress's objectives. So that's why they say that the U.S. is likely to prevail on the merits in this preliminary injunction request, this motion for preliminary injunction. They then talk about the enforcement challenges and so on. But I do want to go to, let's take a look at the consequences of Senate Bill 508. So page 9, let's get all the way to page 9 after we get through the legal filing notes. Page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9. So here we are. Argument. SB 508 provisions at issue in the case are preempted and invalid under each of the preemption doctrines. It highlights various sections expressly preempted by U.S. law. Second, Senate Bill 508 is preempted because Congress has enacted a comprehensive framework of laws. Is this page... It's legal standard. Okay, well... Where did I find that? It was in the table of contents, and it said consequences, right? Yeah, consequences of Senate. Okay. So ultimately, I mean, like we've looked at before with the initial document, they said that it frustrates federal enforcement. It shields non-citizens and makes it more difficult to hold bad actors accountable. And how they are looking to get this overturned through preliminary injunctions, and then ultimately, I guess, an effort to have the merits debated and have a permanent injunction. That's what's at play here. This may take a while and have all of the variety of different challenges play out in courts to where you get months and months and months and months. I mean, we've been watching the gun ban challenge for how long? But let's take a look here. Enforcement of the challenged Senate Bill 508 provisions will cause irreparable harm. They say under demonstrating a likelihood of success on the merits, a plaintiff must also establish that absence of preliminary injunction, there is a likelihood the defendant's conduct will cause irreparable harm. So they want that preliminary injunction right away. They say that the provisions of Senate Bill 508 are intended to insidiously impede the enforcement of immigration laws, and they have their intended effect. In doing so, the provisions inflict irreparable harm on the United States and on the public interest in enforcing immigration laws. They say without an injunction prohibiting enforcement of the challenged Senate Bill 508 provisions, Congress' carefully crafted immigration regime will be unlawfully frustrated. As noted above, Congress designed employment eligibility verification provisions to place employers at the front line of ensuring that their workforce is free of unauthorized labor, thereby protecting American workers. The challenged provisions only add administrative costs and burdens to that statutory mandate and necessarily discourage employers from effectively carrying it out, particularly through participating in E-Verify. So a lot's going to happen with this case. Preliminary injunction motion. Down the line, they'll decide on that. Might go to the appeals court, might go to the U.S. Supreme Court, and then they'll get to the merits at some point. So that's the E-Verify case. But you've got the other case concerning the sanctuary laws in Illinois. The state filed a motion to dismiss. There was a motion by the DOJ for summary judgment, meaning they want this case finalized in the district courts before it goes to the appeals court. Those motions are pending. You've got the judge in that case that's going to have to decide in the district court on that motion to dismiss the sanctuary state challenge and the Department of Justice's summary judgment case. So that's where we're at with these things. Meanwhile, late last week, President Donald Trump announced that he's signed an executive order.
Executive order to launch the first ever self-deportation program for illegal aliens. We are making it as easy as possible for illegal aliens to leave America. Any illegal alien can simply show up at an airport and receive a free flight out of our country. We have also launched a phone app called CBP Home. That's CBP Home, where illegals can book a free flight to any foreign country. As long as it's not here, you can go anywhere you want. We're also adding a very important exit bonus for illegals to further incentivize their self-deportation. This deportation bonus will save American taxpayers billions and billions of dollars. What Biden did to this country can never be explained, will never, ever be accepted. Eventually, when the illegals are gone, it will save us trillions of dollars. However, if illegal aliens choose to remain in America, they're remaining illegally and they will face severe consequences. Illegal aliens who stay in America face punishments including significant jail time, enormous financial penalties, confiscation of all property, garnishment of all wages, imprisonment and incarceration, and sudden deportation in a place and manner solely of our discretion. So to all illegal aliens who book your free flight right now, we want you out of America, but if you're really good, we're going to try and help you get back in. Thank you.
So the president laying that out there, talking about an exit bonus even. Will that change things? Be interesting to see in the next month how many people actually take the president up on that. We'll be watching closely. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with the Center Square. You can get headlines in your inbox each and every weekday morning. Go to thecentersquare.com and sign up today and get this program each and every weekday morning here on YouTube with the Center Square. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. No order list from the U.S. Supreme Court on a variety of challenges and announcing whether or not they're going to take certain cases. A lot of people watching for the Snopes case out of Maryland. It's a gun ban challenge. And why there's a lot of interest in Illinois is because the Illinois gun ban remains in effect despite a district court saying it's unconstitutional. Welcome back. Illinois in Focus on this Monday, May 12th. And indeed, every Monday for weeks, people have been going to the U.S. Supreme Court looking at the order list following a conference that happens the Friday before. And it seems now that it's been 12 weeks or so that the U.S. Supreme Court has not announced their intentions for the Snope challenge in Maryland. This while you've got the gun ban in Illinois still being challenged, and the state of Illinois responding to the challenge in the appeals court, ultimately saying that, if you distill it down, that these weapons and these firearms the state banned are sophisticated, dangerous because they can fire rapidly. It's unprecedented societal concerns with mass shootings, and that's why the appeals court should say that the district court was wrong, that the law is unconstitutional. They also went on to talk about how the firearms and attachments that were banned are not considered quote-unquote arms, that they are considered accoutrements. So we reviewed that last week, and that's the state having to respond in the appeals court. Their rationale that they say that the state law is not unconstitutional. So the Barnett case, state has filed. We talked about that. The plaintiffs who are suing the state, who got a victory in the district court, they are set to respond next month. We don't have oral arguments set yet in that appeals court case. Once that's posted, obviously, we'll put that on the calendar, and we'll be able to tune in live for the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals hearing that case. So the Barnett case, still there. The district court saying it's unconstitutional. However, his ruling has been stayed, meaning put at bay, not in effect yet, as the appeal plays out. So we'll unpack all of those briefs and keep you updated as to when the appeals hearing is going to happen. But then you get to the Beavis case. The Beavis case out of Naperville was filed back in November of 2022, like a month and a half or so before the state enacted its own ban, because Robert Beavis, Law Weapons, suing the city of Naperville over the ban. That bounced all the way on preliminary grounds, all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Then now it's back down in the district court, but the district court put a stay, putting at bay the movement of the case while the Barnett case is taken up in the appeals court. So the Beavis case stalled out. Then you get to, the issue of the Cook County gun ban that you have Cuberto Veramontes suing, and that was heard by the appeals court back in November of 2024. So that's ruling still pending on the Cook County gun ban challenge. How that's going to be impacted by the ongoing arguments being laid out in the appeals of the Barnett case, I guess we'll see. But then you get other gun ban challenges. The Schoenthal case, that's the case challenging the state law prohibiting carrying firearms in mass transit, concealed. Arguments were filed last week. We saw some of those, ultimately saying that, there is the state defending it because the state got slapped down in district court there as well. The district judge saying that banning concealed carry on mass transit is unconstitutional. Now it's in the appeals court with the state having to defend the law. And the state says that there is societal concern, and there's also analogous laws back in the day regulating weapons on trains, for instance. Well, trains weren't around in 1790, right? So we'll see how that plays out, but that's in the appeals court. They do have oral arguments set in that case for May 28th. Again, something else that's later this month. We'll be able to tap into that and hear what's going on and hear the arguments on both sides. But then you have in the appeals court also the case of a non-citizen with a gun, Herberto Cabral Flores. That case was argued at the appeals court January 22nd, so we're still waiting on that case to have some kind of resolution in the appeals court. So that's just an overview of where we're at right now with gun ban challenges at the U.S. Supreme Court and even right here in Illinois and other gun law challenges as well. But maybe if the legislature passes Senate Bill 8 requiring safe gun storage and potential loss of FOID cards if people don't report lost and stolen firearms within a designated time frame. If they pass that and enact that, I imagine we'll see another lawsuit in federal court around that idea. So there's plenty for us to talk about here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we bring you the latest here of what's going on in the land of Lincoln. Don't forget to get the newsletter where you get newsletters. Sign up for that at thecentersquare.com. And to get this podcast where you get podcasts, just search Illinois in Focus. That's all I got for you today. Again, the House and Senate come into session tomorrow, so we'll have lots to talk about later on this week and throughout the month as they bring up all kinds of legislation to pass it onto the governor's desk. It's going to be a busy, busy couple of weeks here. Appreciate you being here and being part of the program. Thanks to those in the live chat wishing me a happy birthday yesterday. I'll tell you, Friday, I was going to go down to Texas to pick up an RV, but then a part for my truck wasn't ready in time, and I was this close to taking a Cybertruck down to Texas and bring it back to Central Illinois. I would have had to have stopped 12 times. It would have added 13 plus hours to my trip. It kind of shows the Achilles heel of electric vehicles. Yeah, great on, cost per mile. But if you want to tow anything, well, you better watch out. So postponing that trip to pick up the camper to another time. So we'll keep you posted on that. All right, have yourselves a wonderful day. Happy Monday. Let's get back at it. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning with Illinois in Focus Daily. No, Tenebris, I'm not 29. It's the big 4-2. Get along, extension cord, Bob says in the live chat. My brother actually had a generator in the back of the Cybertruck, but he said that would have taken 10 hours just to add 15 miles. Oh, boy. Buy a horse, maybe. All right. Have a good day, guys.